Okay, I'd like to welcome you to Detroit Greek and Latin's exposition of Tacitus Agricola, part 6. We're hoping to get through about 3 or 4 chapters today, and I'll just bring up our text and start without any delay. So here comes our text. Okay, good. So we left off with all the pearls and stuff, you know, and now we go straight forward into Tacitus's account of the subjugation and British presence on the island before Agricola took over as main commander. So, ipsi Britanniae de lectum ac tributa ac et in juncta imperii munia impigra obeunt, si in iuria absent. Has agra tolerant, iam domiti ut pareant, nondum ut seriant. Okay? So, he starts off this first sentence with just this general statement that the British themselves, they, you know, are obedient in pigra without enthusiasm to these 3 things. The dialectum, I guess that means recruitment for military, for like service or for like labor. Tributa, which of course is tribute, and then this general term, in juncta imperii munia, the services of imperialism, of an empire that are forced upon them, that are enjoined upon them. So they obey these things, you know, not without, you know, with not quite enthusiasm. Si in iuria absent, if there is no insult added to the injury of subjugation. But
impigre there means is the opposite of pigritia, which is lack of enthusiasm. So
yeah, I didn't look it up, Paul. Does it actually mean energetically?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're happy. They're happy campers.
Well,
as long as injury is absent. Okay. Good.
Right.
I didn't look it up. I didn't look it up. I apologize. Okay. I have too much confidence in my vocabulary, and confidence comes before the fall. Okay, though. So has these things, agra tolerant, they put up with has agra. Oh, iuria. Okay. Has has to refer to iuria because all these other things were neuters. So in iuria, on the other hand, they bear gravely or with difficulty, okay, at the present state, subjugated so that they obey, but not yet so that they behave actually as slaves or actually are servants, okay? So he's saying there's a line you have to draw in at the, you know, how they in the behavior. That's how I'm taking it, okay? So we get, therefore, primus omnium Romanorum, divus Julius, cum exercitu Britanniam ingressus, quamquam prospera pugna terueret in colas ac litora potitus sit, potes videri obstendice posteris non tradise. Okay, so the last bit, he was able to appear ostendisa, to have shown the island to posterity, not to have transmitted it to posterity. Okay, so that's the little thing at the end. He was able to appear to have shown the island to posterity. Julius Caesar was, not to have passed it over. So let's go back to the beginning and just get the earlier part. So therefore, okay, first of all, the divine Julius of all Romans, you know, ingressus, arrived on the army, arrived in Britain cum exercitu, with an army, okay? And then, and you have this quamquam clause, and although with the success, by means of, well, with successful battles, I guess this has to be, no, okay, although successful battles.
That's ablative.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I was thinking it was neuter, plural. Thank you, Paul. Okay, prospera pugna, by means of successful battles, he terrified the inhabitants and got control of the shore, okay? Litera potitus, gained control of the shore, okay? He was able to seem to have shown the island to posterity, not to have transmitted, i.e., Julius Caesar's campaign was really just a demonstration of Roman might, or whatever you want to call it, and really had no permanent legacy. Okay.
Yeah, and this potes there means can at the present. He can be seen to have shown it, but not to have delivered it.
It's very good. Okay, that's a very good point that this is present. It's able, like now that we look back, he now appears to have shown it to, in retrospect, compared, say, with Agricola's conquest, is able to have seen, to appear to have shown, okay, rather than to have handed it over. Very good point, Paul. Thank you. Okay? So, soon thereafter, and so we get two things. Soon thereafter, Mox, Bella Kiwilia, okay, no, I did it wrong. Bella Kiwilia, okay, we all know what that means. Bella Kiwilia et in Republica versa principum arma, and the arms of the leading men turned against the republic, against the the constitutional state. Okay. There was also ac longa oblivio Britanniae etiam in pace. So it's almost as if let me try to think. Are these all ablative absolutes? No, I think these are just nominative plurals, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Molt bella civilia et in republicam versa principum arma, errant or something, fuerent. And then, by a long forgetfulness, there was a long forgetfulness of Britain, etiam in pace, even during peacetime. Okay.
Yeah, oblivio is nominative too.
Yes. Yeah, they're all nominative. Okay. So it just is like dropping the verbs to be, the copulatives, est or fuit, whatever he wants. He's just dropping all those, okay? And there was a long forgetfulness of Britain, even during peacetime, even when peace was restored. And then, okay, Divine Augustus was calling this, a planned policy. He called it a concilium, a planned policy. Let's just not go there. And Tiberius Vocabit called it a praeceptum, a command given by Augustus, kind of like a precedent set by Augustus, okay? So both Augustus just didn't want to go there because he had bigger fish to fry, resettling the state of Roman affairs, and Tiberius followed his lead and said, okay, I'm just going to do what Augustus did, okay? Now, now he moves to Gaius, Caligula. Satis constat, it is, generally agreed that, and then indirect discourse, Gaius Caesar, made noise, agitasa, agitated concerning going back to Britain. Okay? And this is a little tricky. I I had a little problem with that, okay? And if not for the quick repentance, the quickness of repentance uh, on account of a fickle mind, okay? Ni velox ingenio mobili penitentii, okay? And the fact that, okay, I mean, I don't even think that you need that comma there. And the fact that the ingentes conatus ad versus Germania frustra fuisset, his huge attempts against Germany, had been frustrated. Okay, so he agitated and about it. That's agreed, and he would have gone for it except for his fickle mentality and the fact that he was tied up in Germany where things didn't go very well. Now, have you guys heard this story? I think it's in Seneca. I mean, I wish I had an imperial historian here. That Gaius actually marched the armies to the shores of, the channel, and then just ordered them to collect seashells?
Yeah.
Has anyone else heard that story? Okay, Paul, you've heard that story?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's pretty classic, ingenio mobili.
Yeah, how are we taking penitentii there? Are we taking that as a genitive?
I'm taking it as defining the velox, quickness, except for the fact that he was quick to repent of something he had taken. Okay?
Taking it as genitive or dative?
I wasn't sure, but either one will do as long as it's modifying velox. Velox of Penentia, velox towards Penentia. I'm not sure.
I think it's a genitive. I take it as
I would take it as genitive. I would take it as genitive. I can't see the dative really working. I mean, you asked about some genitives last week, and when I finally looked them up, it was that little bit where he was talking about the agriculture in Britain, and it was patiens, frugum, at something else with the sheep, okay? And I looked those up, and all Gildersleeve basically said that patiens was the genitive with a verb, and the other one was the genitive with adjectives. So he doesn't really have. There's a certain point where he just breaks down, and if you look in Gildersleeve, you'll see he gives examples, but he's not really saying anything much substantive than that. It could be generated by nouns, it could be generated by verbs, it could be generated by adjectives. I mean, at one point, he's not really breaking them down into really qualitative kind of categories as so much functional ones. So I would just take this as the genitive with an adjective, okay? Okay, good. But we've seen that combination before of a genitive defining something and then an ablative giving even more definition to it. So, okay, but anyways, so here we go. So Divus Claudius, auctor iterati operis, okay, transvectis legionibus auxiliisque, et ad sumpto in partem rerum Vespasiano, quod initium venturae mox fortunae fuit, domitae gentes, capti reges, et monstratus fatis Vespasianus. Okay, so this is a little, we got to break this up a little bit because he switches from talking about Claudius to introducing Vespasian. So, Divus Claudius, and then we just have apposition, the author or originator of a return of operations, okay? And then we get
project.
Right. of a second coming, a reiteration of the labor, having brought across legions and auxiliary troops, and this is the important part, having taken on Vespasian, in partem rerum. in, as a part of the operation. So Vespasian is Claudius's right-hand man in Spain. So this is Vespasian actually in Spain. Okay? And he says, which fact, quote, which thing was the beginning of the future fortune most soon to be. Okay? So he's saying that Vespasian, the fact that Vespasian spent time in Britain is going to be the reason why, once Vespasian takes power, he has the wherewithal to appoint good generals because he knows what it takes to operate in Britain. So that's what's really being assumed here. And then so now with the entry of Vespasian, or not really, I mean, he reiterates the whole thing. So peoples were dominated, kings were captive, and monstratus fatis Vespasianus. And Vespasian was demonstrated, was shown, by the fates to be the man of destiny, something like that. Monstratus fatis, I'm taking fatis to be, I guess, ablative, I guess. Monstratus fatis Vespasianus. Okay? This stuff goes pretty good because it's pretty much bang, bang, bang. Okay? So let's go back and just for a smooth experience, let's just read that whole chapter again, just so people have a good experience of it. Okay.
You read it in Latin?
Yes.
Yeah, you want me to do it?
Oh yes, why don't you, Paul?
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Ipsi Britanni dilectum attributa et injuncta imperii munia impigre obiunt, si injuriae absent, has aegre tolerant, iam domiti ut pariant, nondum ut serviant. Igitur primus omnium Romanorum divus Julius cum exercitu Britannium ingressus, quamquam prospera pugna terruerit inculas, ac litura potitus sit, potest videri ostendisse posteris non tradidisse. Mox bella civilia, et in rem publicam versa principum arma, ac longa oblivio Britanniae etiam in pace. Concilium id divus Augustus vocabat, Tiberius praeceptum. Agitassa Gaium Caesarem de intranda Britannia satis constat, ni velox ingenio mobili penitentiae et ingentes adversus Germaniam conatus frustra fuissent. Divus Claudius auctor iterati operis, transvectis legionibus auxiliisque et adsumpto in partem rerum Vespasiano, quod initium venturae mox fortunae fuit. Domiti gentes capti reges et monstratus fatis Vespasianus.
Oh, that's really great of you, Paul, to read for us because I like your pronunciation better than mine. It gives me just a moment to rest and kind of catch myself because this is a somewhat strenuous, as you can imagine.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So let me take a sip of water. Okay, so conciliarium. Okay, that has to be a genitive plural. Of the consular commanders, and these are appointed by Vespasian, I think. First, you had Aulus Plautius, okay, Praepositus, and we've got that Pri again. He was set at the head, and after him, Subinde, Ostorius Scapula. Okay, and then he says, Uterque, both of them were extraordinary bello in war. Okay? And redactaque Paulatem in forma provinciae, proxima pars Britanniae, addita in super veteranorum colonia. So, now let's look at this for a second. So do we need this to be an ablative absolute, or can it just be est? Retacta proxima. Probably it can just be est, eh?
Yeah, because of pars.
Yeah, okay, so the nearest part of Britain was returned gradually to the shape of a province. And this looks like it. Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, these, okay, and colonial and colonies were of veterans were added in addition, in super. Okay?
Yeah, that could be an ablative absolute.
It is funny, isn't it? Because the whole thing, I mean, the whole thing could be ablative absolute, right? It could go either way.
Well, no, I mean, pars proxima has to be.
No. Oh, you're right. Okay, that can't work. But the latter part, this can be, right? You're saying this can be?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, no. Wait, colonia, well, no, it would be colonies, wouldn't it?
No, colonia is a. Oh,
it's singular.
Yeah,
singular first declension. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So that could be, this could be ablative absolute. Okay. But it is interesting how he slides back and forth. I mean, and how you have this ambiguity.
Yeah, that you need a stylistic expert of Tacitus to decide whether that's nominative or ablative, I think.
Yeah, I try to tell my Latin 2s and 3s at the Latin school that you guys got to get ready for read texts that aren't going to have those long marks on them. You know, I mean, you know, big boy texts, you know, where they're not going to be giving you that help and telling you. Because I'm kind of amazed, you know, I went back to reading my Cicero the last few days and just amazed at how I'm able to feel the ablatives pretty easily, but, you know, it's tricky. Okay, so, quaedam civitates, you know, certain political communities, I always like to do that, use that, were given, okay, to King Cogidumnos, okay? And this guy, he, Monset, remained a most faithful friend of Rome ad nostram usque memoriam, all the way to our day, okay? And then we get here what look like ablatives. Retera actiam pridem recepta populi Romani consuetudine, okay? The good old-fashioned habits or practices of the Roman people, okay, were recovered, okay, now, finally, with the result that, okay, it had as the tools of servitude even kings, okay? And the one commentary had a really good note about this. You know, my little kitty commentary had a really good note about this. Just tracing this practice back, he said, you know, the Romans frequently contrived to obtain a foothold in a country by attaching native rulers to their cause and by playing rival dynasties against each other. The instances of client princes are numerous in history. Massinissa of Numidia, Herod, Attalus, and Eumenes of Pergamus, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So, I mean, we know this game. I mean, it's played even to this day. I'm sure the Russians have their man in the Ukraine, and we do as well. But anyways, so Mox Didius Gallus parta a prioribus continuat. Okay, so he extended the things, you know, the acquisitions, the things acquired by the people prior to him, and he pushed a few. What are we going to call these? Forts, you know. Now onward into the interior. So he pushed the military presence into the interior, and through which actions, I guess man per quae can refer back to the Castella, through which things a fame or reputation was sought of an increased presence. I mean, aukti officii. What did they say here? Just give me 1 second, guys. A reputation for having extended the limits of his jurisdiction. So fama aukti officii. So that's a good. That's actually a good unpacking of that. You know, officii would definitely be the limits of his jurisdiction.
So that quite a rate tour here is a.
They're saying it's a final subjunctive.
Oh yeah, instead not a purpose.
No, my little commentary here, my little kitty commentary, Mr. Stewart is saying that it's a final subjunctive.
Now, what does that mean?
In order that through these things his fame. Wait. In order to seek through these things, you know, because you know, you have relative clauses. You have relative clauses with the subjunctive of characteristic, of purpose, and of what's the other one? And of, you know, I mean, a relative clause in the subjunctive can do anything that a clause can do.
Right. That's what this looks like to me.
Right. So it is like an clause. It's forming. It's doing the purpose of what is his aim. You know, and with the aim that through here he would gain or acquire the reputation of, you know, having increased his dominion or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, and parta here is a neuter accusative plural from the verb pario.
Exactly. Okay. You know. Okay. He built on the gains, on the things gained by his predecessors. Okay. So here we go, straightforward. Veranius took over after Didium, but he died intra annum, within a year. Okay. At this point, from this point, Suetonius Hinc Paulus biennial, Paulinus, biennial for 2 years' time, prosperas res habuit. Okay, had it, you know, things went pretty much smooth sailing. And then we get the ablative absolute describing what he did. Subactis nationibus firmatisque praesides. So he subjugated additional peoples, and he firmed up the you know, system of forts or whatever they had. Okay, now this is good. Okay, because this is supplies this transition. Okay, fiducia quorum. So he built up these additional forts, and fiducia. Okay, his faith of these things, his confidence in his forts. Okay. Okay, hold on. I guess gotta separate this little thing. Ut vires rebellibus ministratum. Okay. Oh, there we go. Aggressus. That's what I was looking for, the verb. Okay. Okay. And he attacked the island of Mona. Okay, on the basis of, you know, his confidence in his forts. Having attacked that, he opened his back, occasione, to the possibility of attack. To, you know, he made himself vulnerable on the main island by taking a force off to the present Anglesey, Anglesey. In holy times, and he says here, in holy times, the Holy of Holies of the Druids. Okay? And apparently, He says the story of the attack and of the frenzied defense by the priests and the women is one of the most stirring recitals in Tacitus, and that's to be found in, just for everybody, that's to be found in Annales 1430. So if anyone wants to look at that. Annales 1430, Tacitus tells about the stirring defense by the priests, the frenzied defense by the priests and the women. Okay? So, Paul, why don't you do us the service of giving us a clean read?
Consularium primus aulus Plautius praepositus ac subinde Astoria scapula, uterque bello egregius, redactaque Paulatim in formam provinciae proxima pars Britanniae, addita insuper veteranorum colonia, quaedam civitates cogitudno regni donatae, is ad nostram usque memoriam fidissimus mansit, vetera ac iam freedom recepta populi Romani consuetudine, ut haberet instrumentum servitutus et reges. Mox Didius Gallus parta a prioribus continuit, paucis ad modum castellis in ulteriora promotis, per quae fama aucti officii quaeretur. Didium Veranius excapit, isque intra annum extinctus est. Suetonius hinc Paulinus biennio prosperas res habuit, sub actis nationibus firmatisque praesidiis, quorum fiducia monam insulum, ut vires rebellibus ministrantem, ad gressus, terga occasioni patefecit.
Very good, Paul. I'm really enjoying listening to you read, because you just get the sense how Tacitus is. I mean, I'm feeling like Tacitus's account is just like it's like a running stream. You know, it's like a surging boom, 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 boom. It just rocks away. Very, very nice. Okay. Okay. So now 15. Now this is absolutely great, guys. Okay, because let me just say something about this. After he basically introduces things with this first bit here, he gives this extended indirect discourse of the way that the Britons are grumbling to themselves in anticipation of rebelling, and he doesn't put it in the mouth of any specific person. I mean, this is something that Livy really worked quite a bit, did quite a bit of, just these kind of anonymous statements of discontent or what people are saying, these generalized speeches that aren't in the mouth of a particular person but are just like what everyone is saying. And there's actually, I mean, everything goes back to Homer, or most everything, and there's a couple places in Homer where he does this very quickly. But Livy really just makes a practice of it. And so this is absolutely beautiful with the and the historical infinitives, as we'll see, gives a lot of what do I want to say, tempo and urgency to this whole thing. So you see right now, namque absentia legati, so that has to be an ablative absolute, I think. No. Yeah. God, I'm so confused now. This
absentia is ablative, and legati is
genitive.
Genitive.
It's genitive. Okay, by the absence of the commander, and then we get without ascendaton, without any connective, without any que, we get remoto metu, another ablative absolute. So you see what I'm saying? That's already kind of furious, because he doesn't say absentia legati remoto que metu. He doesn't. He just goes absentia legati remoto metu. Okay. Okay. So with the commander absent and fear removed, okay, the Britanniae. So we get this nominative subject, but then we get the historical infinitive. Agitara inter se mala servitutis. Okay. Okay. they began to agitate among themselves or to toss about the evils of servitude. Okay, Britanni agitara inter se mala servitutis. Okay, and then we're going to get, and then another infinitive, conferere in urias. You know, they compare their injuries. They break. Oh well, they did this to me. Oh well, that's nothing. They did this to me. Conferere in urias and et ablative of the gerundive of the gerund, and by, you know, talking about it, akindera, they begin to burn. You know, how you just get, you know, you're just saying around and just talking about it just makes you even madder. So I really love the way he introduces this, okay? So he introduces it in this wonderful spirited fashion with these three historical infinitives, okay? Agitara, confere, and akindera. And then all heck breaks loose with the passion of what they actually said. So this here begins the generalized discourse, okay? And so we just have to imagine, and what you'll see, the pattern you'll see is infinitives in the main clauses and then imperatives in the subordinate clauses. So, so let's do the first one. Okay. So, nothing to have been accomplished by patientia, long suffering, except that, nisi ut, okay, they are ordered, they have ordered to them even graver things, even more serious things, you know. You give an inch, they take a mile. Imperenter graviora, okay, and I guess graviora is the subject. Even graver things are ordered, tamquam ex facile tolerantibus, as if to people who put up with it ex facile, and that's just equivalent of an adverb, easily, who are just easily tolerant of it. Okay? So if you let someone walk on you, they'll do even more. So nothing, you know, nothing has profited us by patience, unless that even graver things have been put upon us, have been ordered, as if from people who tolerate them such things quite easily. Okay? And then, okay, again, we're getting these infinitives. Okay? Olim, at one time, or previously, there had been individual kings to each of our groups, to us, to ourselves. But now, two kings or two rulers have been placed upon us. Okay, passive, two to be placed upon us. So this is the accusative subject of the infinitive. Two rulers have been placed upon us. Okay, and of whom the legatus does this and the procurator does that. Okay, so the military officer, Cyreret, is savage with respect to our lives or blood, and the procurator, the civilian officer, is savage in bona with respect to our property. Okay? And then the next little bit. Aeque discordiam praepositorum, aeque concordiam subjectis exitiosum. So, equally, okay, equally, the discord of those who have been placed over us, praepositorum, and their concord equally has been destructive to we who are subject. So whether they're disagreeing among themselves, the legate and the procurator, or whether they're cooperating among themselves, either fate is equally destructive to us, the subjects. Okay? Okay? of one of them, i.e. of the legate, his bands of centurion, his centurion operatives, and of the other one, his slaves, okay, miscera vem et contumelias miscera, mixed together, concoct a brew of violence and insults. Okay?
Yeah, what do you do with manus there?
Manus is kind of redundant, but my kitty commentary said tools or cat's paws. So manus can be like a band. I thought when I was reading it that was kind of redundant. Okay, that you really didn't need it. I mean, why not just alterius centuriones, alterius servos? And unfortunately, I kind of let things slide. Didn't have time to give as much attention, or really any attention, really, to ogilvy on this issue. So I'm a little not sure what he says. Let me just look really quickly to see if he has anything. So he, for alterius manus, ogilvy has the tools of the one, his, i.e., his centurions, and those of the other, i.e., his slaves. So, so that's how they're reading it. That centurions is really defines, one of them used his tools in the person of centurions, the other his tools in the persons of slaves. Because manus can be a band of people that attack you, but it has a of course it can, but it can mean just a group of people who do who perform some function as well.
Well, then it might be good to take manus twice there as alterius manus servos.
I think so, but exactly. I mean, we've seen that a million times, that he will not repeat something. I mean, this is what I have to tell my Latin 2s and 3s, that you got to get used to the fact that if something's hanging in the air, he's not going to repeat it. Okay?
Yeah, well, that's typical of any good Latin author anyway.
Right. That's what you have to get used to. It's just what you have to get used to. Okay? So nihil iam cupiditati, nihil libidini ex captum. Okay? So nothing was outside the pale of now simple greed, now simple lust. Okay, something like that. Nihil iam cupiditati, nihil libidini ex captum. Okay? So again, it's interesting the way he takes these abstracts, and he really means, of course, lusting, greedy persons, libidinous persons. You get what I'm saying? Just like in the opening, we had virtus, meaning the virtue of a particular man. Here, of course, we have the lust and the greed of individuals. Okay? But all this, remember, let's not lose sight of the fact that all of this is just this general lament of the woes. Okay? So now he says, okay, so in war, okay, the stronger person is the one who, wins the spoils. Okay? But now, okay, plerumque, for the most part, by lazy do-nothings and by unwarlike, instruments, these manus, okay, our homes are being taken from us, our children abstrahi liberos, and delectus are being, injungi are being forced upon us, okay? Tamquam mori tantum pro patria nescentis. As if upon persons who do not know how to die for their country. who do not know that your country is the only thing to die for. Tamquam mori tantum pro patria nescentibus. So that's a really nice extended noun clause. Okay? Okay. Now the complaint continues. Quantulum. With what little bit of soldiery have they crossed over? If the Britons themselves, numerent sesa, has to mean if they would come out in force. If they would just count themselves. Look around, guys. You know, it's like I read this wonderful book about the British Raj, you know, the control of India, and how few troops they took to control India. Now, of course, they had modern weaponry, so that made it a little simpler. But this is the whole point, you know. I mean, look how few soldiers there are, okay? Look how little of the soldiery has crossed over if the Britons themselves would just simply, you know, number up, you know, line up, would come aboard in full numbers, okay? And then now he makes
militum Britannorum, right? The quantulum enim transis militum Britannorum, si se Britanni numerant. Do I have that right?
What do you do with the Britann? What do you want to do with the militum?
Well, that's British soldiers, right?
Oh no, this is these are the Roman soldiers.
Okay.
You know, with what a small amount of soldiers the Romans have crossed over. You know, what small amount of Roman soldiers has crossed over to Britain.
Okay.
You know, that's a very small occupation force. That's what they're saying. Such a little amount of soldiery has come across as the occupation force. But that's only if the Britons would all unite. Okay? See, Britanni Sesa Numerit. You see it?
Yep.
Okay? Okay. So, and he says, so thus it was that the Germanies, and see, he uses Germanias to mean the very tribes of Germany. So did they excusisa the yoke. So did they excusisa the jungum. So did they throw off the yoke. Okay? Et flumen, I love this. Et fluminat non oceano defendi. And they were protected by a mere river, not a whole ocean. Okay? I mean, this is just awesome. Okay, to ourselves, or to themselves. Now, this is very interesting. Because, I mean, if you think narratologically, Tacitus never goes over completely to the point of view of the Britons. He doesn't say to ourselves. Okay, you'll see this later. But to themselves, they were saying that to themselves, their parents and their children and their, oh no, okay, hold on. Okay, let me go. To themselves, the causes of war were their fatherland, their wives, and their parents. Whereas to the Britons, I mean to the Romans, their only causes of belly, reasons for fighting, were simply greed and, you know, luxuriam. Okay? Sibi patriam conjuges parentes, illis avaritiam et luxuriam causas belli esse. Okay? And then we get this beautiful future accusative participle, and I guess it's conditional, and they would retreat as divine Julius himself had retreated, if only provided that they, the Britons, would emulate the virtue of their ancestors, of their own ancestors. Now, interestingly enough, to make the point, to remake the point that Tacitus hasn't gone over completely to the viewpoint of the Britons. My little translation that I was checking myself with, they want to translate this third person plural as a first person plural. If only we would emulate the virtue of our own ancestors. You see what I'm saying? What the difference is? Whereas Tacitus has kept it third plural, if only they would emulate the virtue of their ancestors. So it's very subtle, but it's a difference between him, the narrator, disappearing into the voice of the complaining Britons, or the narrator maintaining his presence by using the third person as opposed to the first person plural, the third person plural as opposed to the first person plural.
Well, here I'm mularentur is referring to the British.
Yes.
That the Romans would withdraw,
right,
as Caesar had withdrawn, provided only that they followed the virtue of their ancestors, that they rivaled the virtue of their ancestors.
Right.
Well, why is that? Ut divus Julius recessit. Why is that? Why is that subjunctive?
I would say, you know, I don't want to just jump, but I noticed last week. I noticed last week after I looked up, because you asked this question before when we had a quia clause with the subjunctive, and you were knocking at the door of the correct answer. But a lot of these clauses go into the subjunctive. Well, number one, I mean, you could say this is it's that case we had before. This is indirect discourse. So insofar as it's an indirect statement in indirect discourse, it's going to be in the subjunctive.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it could have what they call oblique. It could be oblique. Okay, as they maintained Julius had retreated.
Mm-hmm.
But Julius Caesar wouldn't say that he retreated in the face of the Britons emulating the virtue of their fathers. He just had better things to do, right? I mean, Julius Caesar wouldn't say that's why he retreated.
No, he wouldn't say that, but
right. But the Britons would say that. So by putting it in the subjunctive, the narrator can create distance between himself and the reason given.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I were to say, oh, my student said she didn't hand in the homework because the dog ate her homework, because her dog ate it. I would put that in the subjunctive because I really don't believe that's true. That's just what she said. Okay? So I think it can be either one of both, but those things, I think we've seen that before, where it's a question of whether it's just in the subjunctive because it's indirect discourse, or whether we actually have this oblique thing going on. I mean, yeah, this oblique, and I'll give you the reference for it next week, where it's just disowning the actual truth of the explanation. Okay?
Yeah, maybe add the reference right in here on the page would be good.
You know, that's what I've been doing. I've been, you know, when I went back and recorded the other ones, when I went back and re-recorded 1 and 3 over the, put new videos up, I was actually able to go back and find some of the references and started feeding them in. But, you know, and that has worked. But like I said, this week I just didn't have time to go do it. You know, I kind of got distracted reading Cicero, working on another thing I was working on, because this wasn't very, very difficult. Okay, so Naue prolio unius alterius I went to pauescerent. Okay, and okay, they shouldn't be scared. Ne pauescerent. They shouldn't be scared, they were saying to themselves, by either the event of one or another battle. They shouldn't just let one or another battle, okay, scare them. Okay?
They went to means outcome.
Right. It went to by the outcome of just one or so they're saying, you know, we have to be in this for the long haul. We can't just give up because we lose one battle, okay? And then this was a little weird because the commentary said that Felicibus is actually referring to the Romans. And we all know, or maybe we don't, but it's important to realize what Felix means in military what military context. It just means lucky. You know, I mean, you know, when Pompey was called Felix, or was it Pompey or was it Sulla? Who was called Felix?
Sulla.
Okay, yeah, Sulla. I mean, that just means lucky. Okay? I mean, like, you know, it's better to be lucky than good. So there's more fight to people who are merely lucky. The Romans have just gotten lucky, okay? You know? They didn't really beat us. They just got lucky, okay? Okay? Okay, but, so there's more fight, more impetus, plus impetus, and this has to, of course, be a genitive, right? There's more fight to people who are lucky, but there's more of doggedness. But those who are deeply miserable are. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Like, see, this should be actually a dative. Well, he doesn't worry about parallel construction. But I just want to check in my other text really quickly. I think it just is accusative. Yeah. Maiorum Constantiam penes miseros esse. Okay. So I'm not sure how these are really, you know, I would prefer if this was a dative. But
well, penes does the trick. It's the prepositional phrase that penes miseros is equivalent to the dative construction felicibus.
Very good. Okay, that's what I need. That's what I need. I was looking at penes as an adverb, not as a preposition. So that makes perfect sense then. You're right. Okay, that makes perfect sense. But this is another good example of him using, you know, different constructions to accomplish the same thing. So thanks, Paul. So a greater level of constancy exists in those who are miserable. Penes miseros. So thank you. So penes here is the preposition. Okay. So and now the end of it. Now even the gods, and then continue with these infinitives, are feeling sorry. The gods of Britain are showing their mercy, are showing how sad they are for us. These gods who, okay, are detaining the absent leader of the Romans, and who have stranded the army, relegatum, have left the army, relegated the army to another island. So relegatum in alia insula exercitum.
Yeah, that's exiled.
Very good. I mean, I should have looked that word up, but like I said, a lot of times I don't, you know, I read Latin now, and it's at the point where I don't even think about the English words. So I receive the Latin, and I think I understand what's going on, and oftentimes, for purposes like this, there are words I wish I'd look up just to have a more exact sense. But a lot of times I'm not even thinking of what the English equivalent is, but you just get the idea. But relegatum is a word for exiled almost?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, jam ipsos, okay, this is good. Jam ipsos quo difficilium fuerit, and I would like to know where this subjunctive is coming from. Okay, I wish I'd had time to figure it out. But now they themselves are deliberating, which is actually the most difficult thing. Somehow, I don't know where that fuerit is coming from. Okay. Moreover, in this type of planning, in eos modi conciliis, it's more dangerous to be caught than to dare. Okay, so now this is a little weird because when I checked myself with the translation, it seemed to want to reverse the terms, but to me this seems to be saying the worst thing is that we could be caught and this could be nipped in the bud because everyone would just run for cover and pretend like they weren't even involved if we were caught in the midst of these plannings. But to dare to act upon them, so it's more dangerous to be caught than to actually act, to dare to plan, or to dare to act upon our planning.
Well, that's because the opposition had been removed.
What are you saying, Paul? Say that again?
That because the opposition had been removed to the Anglesey Island.
Oh, yes. I mean, you know, the cat's away, the mice will play. This is what always happens to Julius Caesar. I mean, the Gauls start to guard. I mean, this is a topos in these Roman accounts that, you know, Julius Caesar goes down to Rome to try, or back down to Italy to try to sort things out, and the Gauls start mumbling upon themselves. Next thing you know, they're planning rebellion. But if Julius Caesar rushes back too quickly or gets word, then they all like run for cover and come back to him. Oh no, I wasn't going to take part. I wasn't planning it. He was the bad guy. You know, so I think that's what's being referred to here. Okay. So good, Paul. Why don't you do us the service again? Okay, starting up here.
Namque absentia legati, remoto metu, Britanni agitare inter se malus servitutis, confera injurias et interpretando accendere. Nihil profici patientia, nisi ut graviora tamquam ex facili tolerantibus imperentur. Singulos sibi olim reges fuissa, nunc vinos imponi, e quibus legatus in sanguinum procuratur in bona saeviret. Aeque discordiam praepositorum, aeque concordiam subjectis exitiosam. Alterius manus centuriones, alterius servos vimet contumelias miscera. Nihil iam cupiditati, nihil libidini exceptum. In proelio fortiorum esse qui spoliet. Nunc ab ignavis plerumque et imbellibus eripi domos, abstrahi liberos, injungi dilectus, tamquam mori tantum pro patria nescientibus. Quantulum enim transisse militum, si sese Britanni numerent. Sic Germanias exclusissa iugum, et flumina non oceano defendi. Sibi patriam conjuges parentes, illis avaritiam et luxuriam causas belli esse. Recusuros ut divus Julius recusisset, modo virtutem maiorum suorum aemularentur. Neve proelii unius alterius eventu pavescerent, plus impetus felicibus, maiorum constantiam penes miseros esse. Iam Britannorum etiam Deus miserere, qui Romanum ducem absentem, qui relegatum in alia insula exercitum detenerent. Iam ipsos, quod difficillimum fuerit, deliberare. Foro in eius modi conciliis periculosius esse de prehendi quam audere.
Very good. Okay, so now we get the actual rebellion, and this and the next section go pretty quick. So we should, with the 20 minutes we have left, actually maybe be able to get through the next two sections. So, okay, so spurred his atque talibus in vincem instincti. Spurred in turn, back and forth, by these sorts of complaints, okay? And now we get an ablative absolute. Boudica generis regii femina duce, okay, with Boudica, a female leader of a royal family, as their leader, okay, as their leader, neque enim sexum in imperiis discernet, for they do not make a difference or discriminate sex when it comes to commands, okay, rulership, okay. Subsere universi bellum. So this has to be the third person plural of the imperfect. I mean of the perfect. You know, as a whole, to a man, altogether, they took on war. They declared war. Okay. And consectati, having attacked the sparsely spread out soldiers, you know, among the castles. You know, you imagine these fortifications that are scattered across the territory, and having expugnatis praesidiis, okay, having besieged the guarding places, ipsam coloniam in vasere aut sedem ut sedem servitutis. They invaded the colony itself as representative of the seat of their servitude, ut sedem servitutis. Okay. Nec ullum, okay. Nec ullum in barbaris ingenii savitiae genus omissit, ira et victoria. So, and ira et victoria is almost the Hendiades. So the wrath that accompanied victory did not omit, nec omit, any type, ullum genus savitiae, of savagery. And then this in barbaris ingeniis, my one kitty commentary had something that was good, but it just referred to the character of the barbarians. Excuse me for a second. An attributive phrase that's supposed to be an attributive phrase, and he translated it as with which barbarians are familiar. Okay. Now I'm not really ready to buy that, because you know, you see the cruelty of rage and victory. I mean, I don't think there's a single army that's ever not exhibited that. So, especially against the rebellion. So, I'm not sure what we do with the imbarbaries and Guineas, you know. But let's just keep going, so we don't get bogged down. I want to get through the next two. Okay. Quod nisi, except for the fact that Paulinus propera subvenisset, if not for the fact that he had come very quickly to the aid of the situation, cognito provinciae motu, okay, the rebellion of the province having become known, okay, amisa Britannia forward, and of course forward is just, you know, for futurus esse, you know, Britain would have been lost, okay, if he hadn't come back quickly, okay. And this quam has to refer to Britain, okay, which restituit, which he returned to its old patience, okay, which unius proelii fortuna, which the success of one battle restored to its former state of subjugation, patentiae, okay? But we get this ablative absolute. Although tentibus arma plerisque, though a lot of people still held arms, so some people were still under arms, okay? Quos conscientia defectionis et proprius ex legato timor agitabat, okay? Who, you know, we could say we're motivated by, but this is actually active, whom the fear, the near fear, and they're saying this ex legato is equivalent to a objective genitive, you know, the close-up fear of the commander right there on the scene, and their guilt at having rebelled, conscientia defectionis, okay, whom those things agitated. These guys knew they were in deep trouble because they rebelled, so they held onto their arms and kept fighting. Okay. And then this is a little difficult. Ne quamquam egregias cetera. So we gotta break this up. Ad roganter indelitos et utsuae quisque inuriae utor durius consuleret. Okay. And I'm having a little trouble with the ne consuleret now that I'm okay. But the way this is going is okay. Let me just show you okay, ne. Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second to just see if someone's going to give me help with this. No. Oh, okay. Okay. It's saying, for the ne, quamquam, it's saying, the Britons were apprehensive that however estimable Suetonius might be in other respects, and that's the egregias cetera, he would be merciless to the rebels. They did not fear that he was corrupt or biased, as other generals had been, but merely that he was harsh. This estimate of Paulinus's character may not have been wide of the mark. He was a professional soldier accustomed to the strict values of the camp and seems to have been content to leave the civil administration to the procurator. Okay, so okay, so this must be the timor agitabat has to just be functioning as a verb of fear. They feared lest, okay, although he was a fine man in other respects, they feared lest he would consult as a avenger in a rather too harsh manner, okay, arrogantly with regard to those who surrendered, and this is an interesting little phrase, ut sui quisque inuriae, as if the injuries, and this is the plural nominative, as if the injuries were sui quisque, were a personal affront. Okay? So you see how that's working, guys? It's a little tricky. I couldn't figure out the ne, but the timor agitabat, you know, it forced them to fear, who were afraid lest, although he was egregious, was a good guy with respect to other things, that in an arrogant manner against those who surrendered, and I guess the et goes to there, and as someone who, and as if the injuries were sui quisque, you know, of personal ones, he would, you know, proceed rather harsh as an avenger of the rebellion. Okay? So, and apparently this guy was relieved of duty because, you know, his putting down the rebellion just left such a bad taste in the Briton's mouth that, you know, the emperor realized he needed to replace him with someone else. So, Mises igitur Petronius Terpilianus tamquam ex orabilior et de electis hostium novus, eoque patentii meteor, okay, compositis prioribus nihil ultra ausus, trebellio maximo provinciam prodit. So let's just break this into two, okay? So, therefore, Petronius Turpilianus, having been sent out as the new legate, as if he would be a little more, you know, you could plead with him, you know, he would give a little more ground, because he was new, he was unassociated with, you know, the wrongs, the things, he was new to the derelictions of the enemy. He hadn't been on site when the rebellion occurred, and eoque, and therefore softer to a penitent attitude. Paenitiae meteor, and they want that to be paenitiae to be dative. So softer to an attitude of repentance.
For the purpose of. You think?
No, I think they wanted it to be a reference. Right. And again, remember how he likes, like I say, he likes to use these abstract terms to actually talk about people who are in that state. So I think that's what he's doing here again, Paul.
I'm sorry, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Using the abstract idea for a person who's in that state. Okay? So, and he, you know, he's a newcomer to the derelictions of the ill deeds of the enemy, and therefore, as if he's going to be a little more easier to plead with, okay? And then, but then they say, okay, compositus prioribus, you know, everything being put together, the previous state of affairs being kind of like put back together, nihil ultra ausus, having dared nothing further, okay, i.e., this guy, Petronius Turpilianus, he handed off the province to Trebellius Maximus. Okay? And Trebellius, however, was a little bit lazy, and at nullis castrorum experimentis, okay, having tried nothing militarily. Okay, so of course castra is the military camp. Having made no tests of the camp, okay, provinciam tenuit, he held the province by a certain easygoing manner of attending to it. That's kind of strange because I wanted originally Karandi, I wanted this to be a gerund taking an accusative object, but that rarely happens. So it really is by a certain, you know, easygoing manner of caring for the province, of attending to, of administering the province, he held it. You know, he just kind of, okay, well, let's everybody just chill, okay? Now, and the Barbary at that point, and the barbarians at that point, they learned also to ignoscere vitiis splendentibus, to put up or to suffer, to forgive, to look the other way, to vices that had a complimentary aspect to them. Okay, so this vitiis splendentibus, I would like to know if he uses that expression elsewhere. Okay, but and et interventus Cervilium armorum praebuit justam sagnitiae excusationem. Okay, and so again, the intervention of civil war, of civil arms, offered, you know, reasonable excuse for sagnitiae, to his, you know, kind of easy attitude. Okay, and I just want to. So it means the struggles attendant on the usurpations of the Principiate by Galba, Ortho, and Vitellius and Vespasian. So it means the year of the four emperors. Okay. Now this is just one of these classic imperfect impersonals. So laboratum. Okay. So there was trouble, there was burdensome labor, discordia, on account of discord in the army. Okay? Cum ad suetus expeditionibus miles otio lasciviret. Okay? So soldiers who were used to going out on the camp and, fighting and stuff, and here mile stands for the whole army, okay, was basically made soft by otio. Okay? And then it got so bad that Trebellius, vitata ira ex, okay, fuga et latebris vitata executus ira, okay, and these have to be ablatives. Okay, sorry. By flight and hiding, okay, the anger having been avoided of the army, he only escaped his army by taking flight and hiding, okay. Indecorus atque humilis, okay, now shamed and humble, okay. Praecatio mox praefuit. Now, precatio, that has to be ablative, doesn't it? I want it to be nominative, but it has to be ablative. Precario. Do you know, Paul?
Could be dative for praefuit.
I think that the praefuit is, what do I want to say, intransitive. He continued to rule now by merely, almost by the permission of the army, by begging. Okay. Praecario. I just have to look up that really quickly. I should have looked it up. Praecario. Precario. Sorry. Precario. Precarious. Oh yeah. Okay. Precarious. Precario is an adverb, means by entreaty on sufferance. Okay? So, humbled, shamed and humbled, he now was had only by the sufferance of the army. Okay, so precario is actually an adverb, by sufferance of the army. Okay? Ac velut pacta executus licentia, as if the license of the army had been accepted and agreed upon, okay, and along with the safety of the commander, okay, seditio sine sanguina stetit. Now stetit, the translation said subsided, and I didn't get yeah, because stare just means to stop. So it stopped without bloodshed. Okay, he just totally backed down. Okay? Nec vetius volanus, manentibus adhunt qui willibus bellis, agitavit Britanniam disciplina, again ablative. So neither did Vetius Volanus, since civil war was still going on, nor did he stir up Britain by exerting discipline on the army. Okay? So, eadem inertia erga hostis, there was the same laziness or inaction with regard to the enemy, and similis petulantia castrorum, and a similar, petulance, disobedience, just out of control, lack of discipline, castrorum of the army. Okay? Okay, and then nisi quod innocens Bolanus et nullis delictis in visus caritatem paravit loco auctoritas. Except for the mitigating fact that Bolanus, who was a pretty good guy, Innocens, and was not hated on account of any wrongdoing on his part. He was just a good guy, okay? pararet, he acquired the goodwill of the army in the place of, you know, kind of like a manly authority. Okay, so they just liked him and weren't going to bother him because he's a good guy. He's not ruffling him with feathers. He's not, you know, he's not doing any abuses. But he didn't really have really authority. They just liked him. Caritatem. Okay. So Paul, why don't you quickly take us through that?
His aquatalibus in vicem instincti, budica generis regii femina duce, neque enim sexum in imperiis discernunt, sum sera universi bellum, ac sparsos per castella milites consectati, expugnatis praesidiis ipsam coloniam invasera et sedem servitutis, nec ullum in barbaris ingeniis, saevitiae genus omissit ira et victoria. Quod nisi Paulinus cognito praevinciae motu propere subvenisset, a missa Britannia foret, quam unius proelii fortuna veteri patientiae restituit, tenentibus arma plerisque, quos conscientia defectionis et proprius ex legato timor agitabat, ne quamquam egregius cetera adroganter in deditos, et ut suae quiusque injuriae ultor durius consuleret. Missus igitur Petronius Turpilianus tamquam exorabilior et delectis hostia novus, eoque penitentiae mitior, compositis prioribus nihil ultra ausus rebellio maximo provinciam tradidit. Rebellio senior, et nullis castrorum experimentis, comitate quadem curandi provinciam tenuit. Didicere iam barbari quaque ignoscere vitiis blandientibus, et inter ventus qui William armorum praebuit justam signitiae excusationem. Sed discordia laboratum, cum ad suetus expeditionibus viles otio lasciviret. Trebellius, fuga ac latibris vitate exercitus ira, in indecorus atque humilis praecario mox praefuit, ac velit pacta exercitus licentia, duce salute, et seditio sine sanguinis detit. Nec vetius Bolanus, manentibus adhuc civilibus bellis, agitavit Britanniam disciplina, eadem inertia erga hostis, similis petulantia castrorum, nisi quod innocens Bolanus et nullis delictis in visus, caritatem paraverat loco auctoritatis.
Okay, very good job. Very good, Paul. We're at 9:35, so I guess we can't. We don't have any. Going to 17 would probably push us close to 10. It's a pretty short little thing, but I don't want to push it, and we'll just let go here. We've made good progress. Okay, thanks everyone, and see you next week. We'll continue our Detroit Greek and Latin. We'll continue its presentation of the Agricola, and thank you, Paul, for reading. Thank you, Larry, for listening in, and everyone have a wonderful week. Okay.
You're welcome.
Adios, folks.
You too. Take care.
Thanks a lot, Professor.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, folks.